Every time I watch Yu Hakusho, I remember why this show stood the test of time and aged beautifully. Today, we're gonna see Yusuke's very first case as Spirit Detective. So at the end of last episode, Yusuke sacrificed his spirit egg in order to save his best friend's life from a fire. But by doing that, he basically threw away his chances at coming back to life. In the middle of his realization that he was never going to be able to see his family and friends again, the ruler of the spirit world came to deliver a message. After witnessing his act of kindness, Kurama decides to give Yusuke one last chance to go back to his body in the human world. So Yusuke, Bowtie, and Kurama all go back to his body, back at his mom's house. Yusuke ready to get back to normal, but Kurama's like, you gotta wait just a little bit. He explains that human bodies and souls each have their own separate wavelength, and in order to get him back into his body, they gotta be on the same timing. Fortunately for him, tomorrow they'll be in line, but if he misses this chance, he's gonna have to wait another 52 years. So Yusuke trying to figure out what exactly they have to do in order to get him back into his body, and Kurama tells him somebody's gonna need to donate their life energy. Yusuke thinking like, on some sacrificial shit, like I don't really rocks with that. He like, nah, not through nothing like that. They gotta donate through a kiss. So Kurama preps Yusuke's body to be realigned and gives him the instructions. He has to go into the dreams of the 3 people closest to him and tell him what to do. If even one of them follows the instructions, then he gets to come back to life. And boom, that's when his mom walks in. She walk in, going and talking to his body. She already drunk, talking about, I'ma go to the bar, you hold it down over here. Yusuke automatically rule her out, like she not gonna be able to do nothing. She barely follow instructions when she's sober. The only 2 people left besides his mom would be Keiko and Kuwabara. Turns out he already went into Kuwabara's dream, and Kuwabara's not going for none of that. He's surprised he even had a dream like that in the first place. That's the last thing he want to think about. We see Keiko at Yusuke's bedside. Now the thing is, when Yusuke's ready, he said his body is supposed to be glowing golden, saying that he's prepared to accept the life energy and get the transfer going. But when Keiko's here looking at him, he's not going at all. He just looked normal. She's like, what are you doing, Keiko? It was just a dream. So she walks off. Turns out Yusuke was glowing, but it just started at his feet and would gradually move his way up as he's more and more ready to get the process going. So Yusuke's like, damn, Keiko already left to go to school and he's got nobody else that he could try. When Keiko's at school, she notices Kuwabara is not there. He had skipped that day. She was thinking that she wanted to talk to Kuwabara about the dream, since both of them know that Yusuke's supposed to be coming back to life. That's when out of nowhere, Unk pulls up to the classroom saying that she's gotta go. Keiko's mom is in the hospital. Fast forward to the hospital room, we see Keiko's mom, Keiko, and her dad, who's talking with the doctor. Doc says that mom's gonna be fine. She just ended up working for too long out in the heat and passed out. He want Keiko to leave so that she can get some rest, but she's like, nah, I'm gonna stay by her till she's good. Which is just coincidentally the worst thing for Yusuke right now. She's not gonna leave her mom's bedside, and she was the one most likely to go and give him a kiss. So he decides to go and try Kuwabara once again, but it's no good. He gets the feeling, the tickle feeling as he calls it, but he doesn't understand what Yusuke is trying to tell him. Running out of options, he goes and checks on his mom, who's at the club in her own little section, just drinking away. She not about to be no help. At this point, Yusuke done lost all hope, and I can't really blame him. He's tried everybody, but nobody's really getting the clue. But Bowtie is still rocking with him. She's thinking there's gotta be something she could do, some way she could make it happen, and that's when it clicks. So she runs off, leaving Yusuke and Kurama behind. The next thing we see is Keiko by her mom's side, but her mom starts muttering something. She's like, Yusuke, you gotta go save Yusuke. It wasn't just a dream. Turns out Bowtie possessed her while she was asleep to relay Keiko the message that Yusuke still needs saving. As Keiko runs out the hospital and towards Yusuke's house, Kurama realizes they only got 3 minutes left before Yusuke's window of opportunity fades. She runs to Yusuke's building, trying to use the elevator, but it's all the way on the top floor. She don't got time for that. So she starts blitzing up the stairs as time is just counting down. Yusuke's body at this point is 100% ready to link back with his soul, but there's only 2 minutes remaining. She's running up to the door and starts digging through her bag to try and find the spare key that she has, but she's struggling to find it. Kurama's looking at his pocket watch, realizing there's only 1 minute left. Keiko finally manages to grab the key, unlocking the door and kicking her shoes off as she's running towards his room. At this point, everybody's stressed. As she makes it to his room, the clock strikes 12. She drops her bag to the floor as she sees Yusuke's glow slowly fading away. She darts towards him and gives him the kiss that he needed, but it looks like nothing's changed. Keiko's there sitting at Yusuke's bedside, completely distraught. As she looks at his body with tears in her eyes, my boy's eyelids gradually open. As he starts to sit up, Keiko's overwhelmed with emotion. He look over like, shit, I appreciate you. As she go and just tackle him with a hug. Watching from the outside, Botan's relieved that this case is finally over. But Kurama's like, over? Yusuke's case is just now starting. Let's see how he act when he's not floating around as a ghost. So we get to see Yusuke finally back in his own body. He wearing his swaggy ass fit, and he dead ass got that shit on. We be dressing for the first day of school, he dressing for his first day of life. I'm like, bro, it had to go crazy. But overall, Yusuke's just happy that he's back alive. He run into these two thugs who start to press him for everything he got. They like, hey bro, give us all your money and you can walk away unharmed. Yusuke just start tweaking out, like, y'all are talking to me? Y'all could really see me right now? What a wonder it is to be alive. And he just walked right past him. First dude get mad, like, don't put your hands on me. But his man stop him, like, bruh, it ain't right to mess with the crazy folk. We just gotta let him be. So Yusuke going on about his day when he hear a voice coming from the alley. It's this lady with a crystal ball talking all type of nonsense in his ear. She's like, ooh, your life energy is a little different than everybody else's. Yusuke like, oh really? Is that so? He think to himself, maybe I should tell her I've been dead for a few weeks. That might throw her in the loop. But then she answers him talking about, no it wouldn't. You, my good friend, have a mission to complete. Yusuke like, I'm cool off any missions. I'm here just trying to chill. So he pull up to this coffee shop where these two kids from his school are walking out talking about the people inside. Apparently, some kids from this other school is trying to take that turf away from Kuwabara, who's been holding it down since Yusuke been, you know, out of action. He walks in and they all instantly staring him down. He like, oh yeah, these boys is a problem. But he just trying to chill, relax, not trying to get into nothing too crazy. He scanned the whole team badges right quick and noticed that dude with the glasses is probably their leader. As he double checks and looks back at him, he like, bro, this dude got horns on his head. He definitely on some weird shit, but he like, hey, it ain't my business. I'm here just to have a little drink. So he overhears them talking about taking the turf away from Kuwabara. The ringleader's name is Sakamoto. He's talking about how he gave Kuwabara a challenge to steal from the most heavily guarded bookstore in town. Yusuke look at him like, bro, Kuwabara has a code of honor and he would never break it. It goes against his entire being to steal. But guess who walks in the door with a bag full of stuff? Kuwabara alongside his boys. So he walk up to him, he's like, hey Kichi, where is she? Sakamoto like, she's with us, don't worry about it. Let me see what you got. So he throw these 3 comic books out on the table. He's like, I got you what you asked for, now where's she at? Sakamoto look at the books like, I thought I told you to steal these. I don't think they give you receipts after stealing. Even when put against the wall where they have a hostage against them, Kuwabara is still not breaking his word, his code of honor. You gotta respect it. Kuwabara is stunned. I don't know how he forgot the receipt in there. That's some bad shit, but he's stunned. He's like, what's the difference? I got you the books. But Sakamoto's like, I'm trying to teach you the thrill of stealing and doing evil. You done missed the whole point of the challenge. So he look at Kuwabara and say, apologize. His man step up from behind like, what? But Kuwabara stops him saying, I got this. So he bows down to the floor and starts apologizing to this man on his hands and knees. Sakamoto and his thugs just laughing at him. Yusuke watching from the sidelines like, what the hell going on? This girl they got hostage must be real special if they got Kuwabara on his hands and knees apologizing. So after he apologized, one of them little thugs from the back pulls a kitten out the bag. This kitten was their hostage against Kuwabara the whole time. Kuwabara's like, no, please, whatever you do, don't hurt her. So Sakamoto's like, well, how about you do something evil for me and you could get the cat back. His thugs is like, boss show has been acting weird, but shit, he getting the job done. At this rate, we about to take over the whole city, especially with Yusuke being gone. So Sakamoto takes everybody to this little alley out back. It's Sakamoto and the kitten behind him on one side, and his thugs is surrounding Kuwabara and his boys on the other. He's like, Kuwabara, I got one final challenge for you. If you do this, you could get your kitten back. Hit your 3 boys behind you. They've been looking at me crazy ever since we met, and I find it disrespectful. So go ahead, start punching on them until I say stop. His man's just like, go ahead and do it, Kuwabara. We not gonna hold nothing against you. We owe you one anyways. But Kuwabara is not going. That goes against his code of honor, so there's no way he would do something like that. Sakamoto's like, oh, so you're not gonna do it? He tell his mans in the back, go ahead and kill the kitten. Bro takes a bottle, smashes it, and puts it up to the kitten's neck, but out of nowhere, a fist comes flying straight into bro's face, sending the kitten up into the air as this man grabs the kitten, laying it to the ground. As he gets up, we already know who it is, Yusuke Urameshi. Everybody's shocked that he's back, and Kuwabara's like, you really came back to life. Yusuke like, I really did, didn't I? And it just so happens I'm in the mood for a beatdown. So Yusuke, Kuwabara, and his mans all start whooping on everybody there. These two really went from enemies fighting all the time to working together. It's just nice to see. As they whooping on everybody, Sakamoto tries to make a run for it, but Yusuke not letting him go. He chases him down into this tunnel where Sakamoto ends up falling and Yusuke gets in front of him. Sakamoto trying to spin right back and run away, but Yusuke grab him by the back of his shirt, hitting him with a crazy punch and knocking him out. He looking at him knocked out on the floor as he sees this little creature crawl out of his mouth. He's like, what the hell is that? The creature look at him like, what? And he turns on this little speed ability, bouncing around everywhere, but Yusuke tracks him down and grabs him right out the air. Out the cut, he hears a familiar voice. His name is Jiaki, a ruthless criminal from the spirit world, wanted for 5 previous convictions. Yusuke, you've done a great job and proved that you're worthy. Yusuke like, hold on now, how you know my name? That's when she take off her robe, like, shit, I hope you know my name too. It's only been a day. Revealing herself to be Botan, now with her own human body. Yusuke like, Botan? Ah shit, did I do something wrong? As he hears a voice from outside, Koenma. He's like, actually, quite the opposite. Tracking down and catching this criminal was your test to prove your worth. Since we're kind of in an emergency, I am now deeming you the temporary spirit detective of the human world. Botan is gonna relay you info for the missions, and it's not gonna be easy, but you're gonna get your own powers handcrafted by yours truly. Botan go ahead and tell him to make sure he gets a good night of rest, cause they got a lot of work to do. Not even really being given an option, Yusuke now is the official spirit detective of Earth. Turns out that same night, there was an emergency in the great treasure hall of the spirit realm. These 3 demons pulled up, stealing precious artifacts, and escaped to the human world. Yusuke got up that morning and got ready to go to school. Nobody besides Keiko and Kuwabara know he's back to life yet. So he have a little interaction with these random students. He sees Keiko, he sees Kuwabara, he's just having a regular school day. In the middle of gym class, he's up on the roof skipping class as per usual when he has a little flashback to the middle of that same night. Botan had pulled up on him in the middle of the night to give him his first spirit detective item, this magical lens. Now using this lens, he could basically see through anything he wants. But she tells him that these magic items use up his spiritual energy, so as his energy gets stronger and stronger, he'll be able to use more and more, so she's going to introduce him one at a time. When he ends his little flashback, we get a view of his class. When all of his classmates come back from gym class, they're all looking inside of their desks and bags, but a bunch of people have items missing. Yusuke walks in late, of course, because he was sleeping up on the roof, and they start putting 2 and 2 together. Yusuke was the only one missing during gym class, and now all of our stuff is gone. He had to have stolen. Keiko comes to his defense, like Yusuke is not a thief. But everybody's like, well, he's the only one who could have taken it, and he's already a thug, so it makes sense. Of course, look who walks in. He instantly starts getting on Yusuke's ass and takes him to the teacher's lounge where he starts punching on him. Punching on him is insane. That shit can't be legal. But Unk pull up out the cut like, I hope you have evidence before deciding to punish him. And he's like, well yeah, he was the only one missing during class, so it couldn't have been anybody but him. He looks over at Yusuke and is like, what, you get this type of actions from your mom? She seemed like the type to be a thief too. Yusuke start getting hot. He starts shaking. This teacher knows exactly what he's doing. He wants Yusuke to punch on him so he has a reason to expel him. As Yusuke goes for the punch, Buddy start having second thoughts. Look at him sweating. But before the punch lands, time freezes and Koenma pops up out of nowhere. Koenma lets him know about the treasure that was stolen from the spirit realm. And as the spirit detective of Earth, he's got to deal with it. Yusuke like, bro, I'm kind of in the middle of something. But Koenma don't got time for that. He's like, hurry up, use your little magic item and look in his pocket. Turns out this teacher stole all the items and was just planning to frame Yusuke in order to set him up. So as time unfreezes, Yusuke reaches inside of his pocket and grabs one of the items. Start to press him like, what is this? And he start blaming Yusuke. Like, don't you see, he's an expert. He stuffed it in my pocket before I noticed and he just start walking away. He know he got caught. As Unk chases after him, Koenma pops up while Yusuke's there looking at the both of them. Koenma's like, well, now that this done, we can start your investigation. But Yusuke's like, man, I gotta get my revenge. I can't just let him walk. But Koenma like, if you was gonna whoop on him, you should have just did that from the start. Instead, attack him anonymously. Yusuke's like, well, how am I supposed to do that? And Koenma's like, with the powers that I gave you. He starts giving him instructions on how to use his spirit gun. He's like, put all of your feelings and emotions into the tip of your finger. As he does it, he starts to see a little beam and feel a little warmth. Koenma's like, go ahead and try aiming and shooting. Picture it in your mind and imagine pulling the trigger. So Yusuke's like, all right, bet. Take this, and shoots with impeccable aim at that, going right past Unk's shoulder and hitting this lame ass teacher in the back. Koenma explains this spirit gun is only possible because of his spirit energy that all humans have. He's granted him the ability to muster that energy into his fingertip and shoot it, which has way more force than a normal punch. But since it uses up so much spirit energy, for now, you can only shoot one time a day. They end up going to this random shed, and Koenma breaks down the items that were stolen. First is the Shadow Sword, who makes a demon of whoever it cuts. Second is the Forlorn Hope, which grants any wish. And third is the Orb of Bast, which steals the souls of young children. All three of these are extremely powerful, and now that they're in the human world, you're the only one who would get them back. Yusuke's like, well, I guess I could do a little something for the sake of humanity. Shit, why not? And Koenma got no choice but to leave it all in Yusuke's hands. So we see Yusuke out on his search, but he really doesn't know where to go. The only thing Koenma said was that they think that one of the criminals can be found uptown. But it's so many people there, Yusuke's like, that's a trash ass clue. He don't know where to start. So he's just chilling on a bench when he hears some commotion going around this little kid. As he goes, pushing his way through to go look at him, he sees this kid's pupils are gone and this thing comes out of the child's mouth. He remembers when Koenma said about the Orb of Bast, which steals the souls of children. He's like, all right, this might be my lead. So he starts following it. He's following this soul for a while. He's going around corners, into alleys, around more corners, and he ends up in this little lot filled with thugs. As he walks through, he sees this dude sitting on some random box. As he looks harder, he notices the horns coming out of his head. He double checks with the spirit lens and confirms this the dude he looking for. Bro gets up and walks away, but as soon as Yusuke's about to follow him, he gets pressed by all these thugs. They're like, hey kid, let me get your money. Of course, Yusuke made quick work of these bums. They ain't stand a chance. As he continues to try and follow that man, we see a view of Koenma up in Spirit World. He's getting a report on the 3 criminals that stole from Spirit World's treasury. The first is Kurama. Somehow, he had managed to avoid all of Spirit World's files. He has no offenses. They barely know who he is. Same thing with the next one, Kie. They don't know where he's from. They don't know what he's done. But testimonies say he's ruthless. And the final one, which is the one that Yusuke's seen, is a run-of-the-mill criminal, a ogre who's already killed over a dozen people who were sent after him. He just loves murder. Koenma looking stressed. He knows this is about to be tough for Yusuke as Botan comes storming in. She gets mad at Koenma for sending Yusuke off on such a dangerous mission when he's barely got any spirit energy. She's like, they gonna kill Yusuke for sure. Koenma say he didn't have much of a choice. He's only got a week until his pops come home, and if his pops comes home and realizes that some of these treasures is missing, he's gonna start tearing up the earth trying to find them. Botan agrees to go to the human world and help Yusuke as much as he can within this 1 week to retrieve all 3 items. Back on Earth, Yusuke is still trying to trail Gouki. He had went into this forest and seen this huge beam of light, so of course he follows it. We see inside the forest Hiei with the Shadow Sword, just going crazy, slicing through trees, creating demons from trees. Hiei and Gouki are talking about going into the nearest city and creating an army full of demons. They're like, Kurama, you in on it? But surprisingly, Kurama's like, I'm gonna have to back out of this little agreement we had. They start pressing him like, ain't no way you backing up right now. And he's like, yep, sorry. And I'm taking the Forlorn Hope with me. Gouki like, yeah, I can't let that happen. And he's about to start whooping on him, but Yusuke pops up out of nowhere. He like, hey fellas, if y'all want to conceal your presence, maybe don't let off a fat ass beam of light in the middle of the rain. He instantly start talking shit about him. He like, I know you're not the spirit detective now. You barely got any spirit energy. Kurama couldn't care less and starts walking away. He is like, whoa, I'm not done with you yet. So he goes and chases after him. Now it's just Gouki and Yusuke. Gouki pulls up on him like, shit, I ain't gonna run, but I gotta have me a little pre-game snack real quick. As he whips out the Orb of Bast and eats a soul. Yusuke like, you son of a bitch, and instantly rocks him in the face, knocking the spirit out of his mouth as it returns back to the human it came from. Yusuke's like, dude wasn't as tough as he looked, as he goes to pick up the Orb of Bast and head over towards the other 2. But of course my man's wasn't finished. He pops up right behind him. He like, hey, you don't do too bad for a human. And Yusuke like, shit, I punched you hard enough for you to be out for the count. My man didn't even respond to him. He just flexed and ripped through all of his clothes, turning into his demon form. He smacks the mess out of Yusuke, sending him flying. He don't know what to do now that he gotta fight this big ass monster. Bro picks a tree up out the ground and smacks him with it, sending him flying once again. Yusuke's like, what am I supposed to do? But then he remembers he's got the spirit gun. But then he remembers again that he already used it. As Gouki walks up on him, it seems like he's out of options. And with his back against the wall, you know what my man Yusuke does? He start getting whooped on, bruh. He's no match for Gouki. He get punched once and flies like 50 feet, bruh. He's rolling. This is a crazy look. Gouki continues chasing after him. He kicks him in the stomach, grabs him by his hair, and starts choking my mans out. But right before Yusuke's about to die, they hear voices coming from around the forest. They're like, oh, I found a spot up here to camp. I found a place for the campfire. It sounds like hella people's there, and Gouki don't want to deal with all that right now. The campers is talking about they got weapons, they trying to eat, they hungry. So Gouki just gives Yusuke a wise word of warning. If you value your life, then you would stop messing with us. If I see you again, you gon' die. So he dropped Yusuke to the ground and he just passes out. When he wakes up back at home, he's like, was that all just a dream? What just happened? His mom pulls back up on him, smacking him in the head. Like, why are you going out and getting yourself hurt? You about to get yourself killed again. I ain't trying to go through that. So Yusuke realized that actually did happen, but he's wondering how he even got back. Turns out all of those voices in the forest all came from one person, Big Botan. She always saving the day. Shout out Botan. She ended up scaring off Gouki and carrying him all the way back to his apartment. So Yusuke sits back and starts talking to Botan. He's like, you did a crazy good job finding me. And she was like, it was easy using this compass. This compass is detective tool number 2. Basically, it allows you to track any spiritual energy that you recognize. So she gave that to Yusuke and give him another word of warning. Gouki was strong, but he's the weakest out of all 3 of those demons. He's just a normal ogre, while Hiei and Kurama are on a whole nother level. They got different types of spiritual energy. Yusuke's mom is watching TV in the living room when she hears something come up on the news. 4 children from an elementary school close by had these strange cases of passing out and becoming non-responsive. Yusuke knows that it has to do with Gouki. There's no other explanation. He starts thinking about these kids' spirits that Gouki's devouring and asks Botan, how long do we have until they're unsavable? Botan's like, it's hard to tell. Maybe 24 hours at max. Yusuke jump out of bed. He's like, say less. Botan's like, in this condition, you really about to fight him? Yusuke like, I don't got much of an option, do I? Now that it's a new day, I'll be able to shoot my spirit gun again. And this time, I'm not gonna be losing. Botan ends up pulling out detective tool number 3, this spirit ring, which dramatically increases his power of his spirit gun. But after he uses it, he'll barely be able to stand due to exhaustion. It's gonna use up all of his energy. So we get straight to action. We see Gouki taking the soul of this little girl, but Yusuke's in the cut, ready to save her. He's like, I thought I told you I never wanted to see your face again. But Yusuke's like, yeah, here I am. Deal with it. So Gouki transforms. He talking about this the second time that you've interrupted my meal. That's unforgivable. Yusuke charges him with a punch right to the stomach, but that does 0 damage. He flies back just from the knockback. Gouki explained, for a spirit detective, you pretty dumb. My body is on par with steel. You're not gonna be able to punch through it. So he attacks Yusuke, but he barely dodges. The tree that he hit instead lands right in front of Yusuke, and he takes it and lunges it right into his body, but the fat ass piece of wood breaks instead. So Gouki takes the wooden stake and throws him alongside with Yusuke. He realizing he don't got no other options. He's gotta use the spirit gun. He gets a flashback to Botan telling him that even with the ring, it might not pierce his skin. So only use it as a last resort, cause it will drain all of your energy. You're probably not even gonna be able to stand up. While he's having this little flashback, thinking, Gouki rushes him and kicks him in the stomach, sending him flying some more. He starts stomping him out, and it's not even looking like Yusuke's gonna get a chance to use his spirit gun. But then, all of a sudden, you know who pops out. Big Botan. Once again, she throws a stick at his back, distracting him from Yusuke, so Gouki starts chasing after her too. She ends up dodging around him and running back behind Yusuke. So he walks up, grabbing Yusuke by his hair, getting ready to bite his head off, but Yusuke does something genius. When Gouki opens his mouth, he sticks a piece of wood in between the roof and the bottom of his mouth, stopping it from closing again. He's like, yeah, y'all skin might be tough, but I bet your insides aren't. So he charges his spirit gun and launches it right into his mouth, completely getting rid of bro and releasing the 5 souls that Gouki had devoured that day. He collects the orb of Boss, saying that it took his all just to get the first one. He don't even want to think what it's going to take to get the next 2 back. On their way back to Yusuke's place, we see Yusuke using the stick just to get from point A to B. Botan was not playing when she said it was going to use up all of his energy. That's when all of a sudden, his radar starts going off on his wrist. He's like, ah damn, another one of the demons pulled up. He's looking left and right to see who it is, and there he spots him, Kurama. But as Kurama walks towards him, he ends up speaking to him through telepathy, saying that they don't gotta worry. He doesn't plan on fighting him, and he also doesn't plan on running away. He just has one request. Please just wait 3 days. When the time comes, I'll give you the forlorn hope back. When Yusuke and Botan are back at the crib, she's like, Yusuke, you gotta be careful. It sounds too good to be true. It might be a trap, and he's just using this to set you up. It's convenient that he says so in 3 days because that's when the full moon happens. And on the full moon, the Forlorn Hope's powers are going to be at its strongest. It's said that the Forlorn Hope will grant the strongest desire of its user, but the user has to give something in return. I don't know what he's planning on doing, but it sounds fishy. Yusuke's like, hey, we'll never know unless we try. After 3 days pass, Yusuke ends up following the directions that Kurama gave him, which ended up leading him to a hospital. Kurama's just there posted up, like, I'm surprised you really came. Yusuke don't know why they're at a hospital, but he follows Kurama inside. We see a woman lying in bed. She says, oh, Suichi, it's been so long since you brought a friend. And he's like, Mom, you gotta lay back down. She's like, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. I'm feeling good today. And he's like, can I peel you an apple, get you something to eat? And she's like, nah, I don't really got an appetite. Yusuke in the back confused on what's going on. First of all, demons don't have families. 2, I thought his name was Kurama, not Shuichi. Nothing's making sense right now. Later that day, just before dawn, he's with Kurama on the rooftop. Kurama tells him Shuichi is the name that he's adopted in the human realm. That woman is his adopted mother. He explains his backstory a little bit. Back in his demon days, he used to be a fox. For hundreds of years, he would break magical seals and steal ancient treasures. One day, when he was being tailed by this pursuer, he made a foolish mistake and ended up taking way too much damage. So at the time, with his remaining spirit energy, he became the child of this young couple. His quote-unquote father had died many years ago, and it's just been his mom raising him ever since. Kurama's original thought process was after 10 or so years, he'd be able to regain a majority of his spirit energy and leave the human realm. But his mother fell to an uncurable illness. And after the years of her raising him alone, he unexpectedly grew a bond that he wasn't willing to shake up. That's when Hiro and Gouki pulled up on him with their plan to steal these 3 artifacts of darkness. He then thought of the idea of using the forlorn hope that they were going to steal to cure his mother, and in exchange for that, giving his life. All of a sudden, a nurse pops up out of nowhere. She's like, Shuichi, it's your mother. As he runs in there to see what's up, the doctor tells him it's not looking hot for her. She's in critical condition. Honestly, this is probably going to be her last day. He goes back to the rooftop saying he has no choice. He has to do it. He summons the forlorn hope and it asks him if this woman's health and happiness is his true wish. He agrees, saying that he'll give his life for it. He puts his hand towards the forlorn hope and starts swirling around in electricity. As Kurama prepares to give his life up, Yusuke sticks his hand in right alongside it. He's telling Kurama what's the point of saving his mom just to see her grieve the death of her only son. He's seen that once before, thinking about his own mom, and he doesn't want to see it again. He tells the forlorn hope to take his life instead, and it agrees, granting the wish. There's a huge beam of light as we see Botan rushing towards Yusuke as she was watching from Spirit World with Koema. As the reflection of the forlorn hope fades out, we see Yusuke and Kurama laying there on the ground. Kurama opens his eyes like, I'm alive, but what about my mom? He don't even care none about Yusuke. He goes straight to her room. Botan lands on the rooftop screaming Yusuke's name. She's thinking that he died, but my boy eventually gets up. He gets up thinking like, that didn't really make a whole lot of sense what I just did. I was thinking I was gonna stop a mom from mourning the death of her son, but if I had died, my mom would have been sad. Botan's looking at him with tears in her eyes. She's like, you gotta stop playing like that. We hear the voice of the forlorn hope say that in response to his act of generosity, he's decided to grant the wish without taking any lives. We cut to Kurama talking to the doctors. They say that she's out of critical condition and she was able to make a miraculous recovery. Yusuke retrieves the forlorn hope, hyped that he's only got one more left. But Koema on Spirit World, who's watching him this whole time, is saying that Hiei's not a regular demon and he's got the shadow sword. It's gonna be 10 times harder than the both of these combined. We get a nighttime view full of warehouses and storage bins. The only person there is Hiei. He's talking about the faults of his 2 past teammates. Gouki wasn't strong enough to get the job done and Kurama was way too emotional. Hiei says it's better this way, since he's the only one who can use his artifact of darkness to its truest potential. But before doing anything, he has one job to take care of. Kill the new spirit detective, Yusuke Urameshi. It's been 4 days since Yusuke fought Gouki, and Botan used her healing powers to get rid of his injuries. He's back to 100% now. They're talking about the game plan. Botan's saying that Hiei's on a completely different level than the other two. And on a side note, Kurama wasn't punished by Koenma, he was given a second chance due to his good behavior. Out of nowhere, Keiko pulls up. They're talking, doing that little banter as they usually do when Botan pops out. She's talking about all this with the spirit energy of Yusuke, how she's seeing Keiko run through the flames to save Yusuke, but bro smacks her on the back of the head, talking about Keiko don't know nothing about the spirit world, don't know nothing about you, so just play it cool. She's like, shit, if I was you, I would tell her soon, cause shit's about to get real messy, but I'ma leave that to you, and she just walks off. When she's gone, Keiko starts asking all these questions about her, but Yusuke's like, it's gonna be a long story, let's not talk about it right now. She's like, okay, then you wanna talk after school? But Yusuke's like, nah, I gotta go see Botan. Keiko's like, oh really? Bet, be like that. And she just walks off since Yusuke don't want to explain. Whole time, they're being watched by Hiei and his little side demon through his third eye. He's like, Keiko Yukimura, huh? Childhood friend of Yusuke, his strongest connection. She can make things a little bit interesting. So as Keiko's walking home, she's thinking about that whole interaction with Yusuke. She's feeling some type of way because he's not letting her in on what's going on. She don't know who Botan is. She loves Yusuke, but he's acting fishy around this new girl. It's got her distraught. While she's walking, guess who she walks by? Hiei himself. If I see Hiei standing like this in the middle of the road and I'm Keiko, I'm smooth taking an alternate route home. He posted up in all black, hands in his pocket with the spiky hair. I'm cool off of bro. But Keiko just walks right by him and he turns around and slashes her with the shadow sword. At that same time, Yusuke's radar goes off. He's in the middle of a meeting with Principal Takanaka, but he just runs off because he knows he's got to catch Hiei. Yusuke and Botan are on the run. Yusuke's like, I think something's up with my radar. No matter what I do, it's saying he's 5 kilos away. Botan tells him he's probably sending a bit of spirit energy in order to lead them to his hideout. Yusuke say, bet, that's perfect. We know exactly where he is then. But Botan's like, it's not all that good. He told me through telepathy that he's kidnapped Keiko and is only going to return her in exchange for the other 2 artifacts of darkness. Yusuke like, ain't no way. So they go into the warehouse where the spirit energy was leading them and he opens the door. As the 2 of them walk in, it seems empty, but as soon as they go in, the door closes behind them. Yusuke screams out Hiei's name, but the only one to show up in front of him is an army full of possessed humans. Botan's like, no way. To control so many humans at once, he must have the Jigan. And that's when Hiei makes his appearance. Like, you not too dumb. Normally, a regular human would have fell victim to my Jigan eye, but it seems like you might be fit to be spirit detective. In that case, I still got a backup plan. And we see Keiko under his control. Hiei's like, hand over the other 2 artifacts of darkness, and I'll release the girl. So Yusuke does exactly that. He gives him the Orb of Baz and the Forlorn Hope. Hiei picks up the 2 treasures as Yusuke runs to Keiko to see if she's alright. Hiei's like, finally, I've retrieved all 3 artifacts of darkness. It's my time to take over the world. But Yusuke cuts him off. He's like, I wouldn't be celebrating just yet. Now that I know Keiko's okay, it's time for me to get my revenge. So he rushes Hiei with a punch, but he vanishes out of thin air. Hiei's like, I hope that wasn't a real punch. All I did was barely step to the side and you wasn't even close. Then Hiei's like, also, you might want to check up on Keiko. Yusuke's like, what? Hiei says that even though he may think she's fine, take a closer look and you'll see that she's still under my control. Yusuke takes a closer look at Keiko and sees a line on her forehead begin to appear. As it gets bigger and bigger, Botan calls it out to be the Jigan Eye, proving that she's turning into a demon under Hiei's control. Then Hiei continues. Her current fate is to become one of my soldiers. Botan instantly starts trying to heal the wound, but Hiei says that's not gonna do much. The only way to bring Keiko back to life is to use the antidote found in the handle of the sword. If she keeps up this healing, it's gonna quickly drain her spirit energy, and soon enough, she'll be dead. Botan's there trying to do her best to heal. She's like, Yusuke, bruh, we gotta hurry up. I can't do this forever. And Yusuke just gives Hiei a look of death. He blitzes Hiei with a quick jump towards him and socks him right in the face. Even Hiei's impressed with his speed because he swears that just a few minutes ago, he was not that fast. He puts 2 and 2 together that Yusuke's someone who fights stronger when fighting for somebody else. Now that he's seen that Keiko's in danger, his spirit energy is rising. Hiei's like, so you're the heroic type, aren't you? I can't stand people like you. But your lack of experience has shown. You were able to catch me off guard with that quick attack right there, but now I'm not gonna drop my guard anymore. You had a chance to get the antidote, but that chance has now disappeared. Yusuke like, alright bruh, you done talking? And that's when Hiei gets mad. He starts flying around, jumping everywhere. He's mocking Yusuke while flying from spot to spot. He's like, can you even follow me at this speed? The human eye is just so slow. I'd be surprised if you could even see my after images. It must really suck being so inferior. But last second, Yusuke smoothly turns towards him, rocking him in the face once again. And of course, my man started talking this shit. He's like, it's running around all you could do? If your eye don't got an effect on me, then I don't even gotta worry about you. I gotta wrap this up quickly, so say your prayers. Hiei's getting even more frustrated at this point. He's like, you better take this as a compliment. I've never had to transform against a human. So he starts flexing up. He's low-key buff underneath that little trench coat he got. But his skin turned green, his eye starts turning red, and we see that with the increase of his powers, Botan's healing is no longer strong enough to stop Keiko's transformation. But being as real as she is, she keeps on trying, getting injured just from the attempt. Hiei's body gets covered in eyeballs. He's like, now her transformation is only a matter of time, but you don't gotta worry about that, since I'ma kill you way before that even happens. He runs up, hits Yusuke with a clean right, then ties him up in these red bands of energy. Yusuke's just there struggling. He can't move an inch. Hiei floats Yusuke up and slams him into the ground. Using his powers, he brings the sword right to his hand, telling Yusuke, you did well for a human, but your time has come. He runs up and swings his sword, but Yusuke doesn't feel a thing because Kurama pulled up and took the swing for him. He had like, bro, what? Where you come from? Kurama grabs the blade, making his hand bleed and flings blood into his eye, instantly breaking the bind that he was trapping Yusuke with. Yusuke looks up at Kurama because he got a big wound right in his stomach, but Kurama's like, don't worry about me. Let's just say this is repayment for what you did earlier. And remember, I'm not a human, so have some faith in me. I'm not gonna die so easily. Hiei looks up towards Kurama like, oh, you gonna pay for this. But Yusuke steps up instead. Like, now that I'm free, let's go ahead and have a fair fight. Hiei's looking up at Yusuke with red aura surrounding him. Hiei like, this is crazy. As the battle's going on, his spirit energy is getting stronger and stronger. Now Yusuke and Hiei get to really fighting. I'm talking straight hands. They trading punches, kicks, just boxing back and forth. You love to see it. After a while, Hiei gets a clean hit on Yusuke and starts overpowering him with more and more hits while he's flying through the air. He hits a clean right, sending him straight to the wall. As he falls to the ground, Yusuke knows he's underpowered. He even starts running off to the side. Hiei's laughing at him. Like, are you for real? After this whole fight, you think you really about to escape now? He's chasing after him, but Yusuke sticks it to himself just a little bit further. As Hiei jumps into the air to get his final attack off, Yusuke's like, perfect, and turns around, charging up his spirit gun. He's like, it's you who's gonna be the one to die. He catches Hiei point blank range, sending off his spirit gun right to his face. But Hiei was able to dodge it. Yusuke falls to the ground from using up his energy, and Hiei just starts chatting some more. He's like, to think you had this in your bag the whole time. But then a strange light grows behind him. Turns out it was the spirit gun reflecting, hitting onto his back. Yusuke's like, perfect shot. Hiei falls to the ground, looking back to see what it was. Yusuke had reflected his spirit gun off of the forlorn hope. He was running to get the right angle. Yusuke already knew that Hiei was gonna dodge it, so he aimed for the forlorn hope instead and hoped he'd get the right shot. A spirit gun, after Yusuke's charged up emotions, was enough to take Hiei out of his demon form, making him collapse on the ground. Yusuke takes the handle of the sword and heals up Keiko's wound, stopping her from turning into a demon. Botan's like, Yusuke, that was genius. How'd you find out that the spirit gun reflected off mirrors? Yusuke like, shit, to be honest, I didn't even know. It was just a lucky ass guess. That lucky ass guess ended up saving the day, concluding Yusuke's first case as the official spirit detective of Earth. I want to give a special shout out to Toby and everybody else who subbed to the Patreon. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, and I'll see y'all next week.